Good evening. I'm Juanita Sanquez, or Juanita Sanquez, and I would like to welcome you to the Coalition Hispanic Latino Issue Progress Candidates Night. Before we get started, I would like to invite Alicia Pardon, CHIP's chaplain, to open up with a prayer.
O Lord God, we pray for peace and love in all the nations, among all the people, that all the wars and hatred will end. We pray for those who suffer from war, injustice, and intolerance, for the children, young people, the poor, and the neglected. We pray for peace in our lives, lands, nations, families, and in our hearts. Lord, give us world peace, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. And if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Again, Mike did mention, please silence your phones. And we also want to remind everyone to please be respectful to all of our candidates here tonight. They're here to give out their message, and that's what we want to hear. This is our 17th year sponsoring the Candidates Night, and of course we always appreciate Joe Bach from Lorain City School and Ron Jantz from LCC for videotaping here tonight. The forum will be moderated by Mike Ferrell, with assistance from CHIP Conference Director Alicia Pardon. And also the last couple of years, we've had the honor to have a student be part of the forum. So I would like to welcome Lorain High student, Latino student, Ariana Marcano. And I just heard tonight she is a senior, and she will be attending Ohio University. So welcome you. And right now, I'm just going to turn it over to Mike.
Okay, so this is all about getting to know our candidates. Okay, so it's all about getting to know our candidates. So we're going to be asking them a series of questions tonight, but there are also some issues on the ballots of which the voters should be aware. So go ahead and change slide. Next. Again. Okay. So there are two state issues on the ballot. The first one, the Crime Victims Bill of Rights, also known as Marcy's Law, is a proposed Ohio constitutional amendment. You should be aware, I mean, in our research of the amendment, there is almost no one kind of against it. Every time that this issue has come up in any state, it has passed. So it is all about victims' rights. The objection in Ohio is that some people think that this might be going overboard, that Ohio already has certain things in place to ensure that when a prisoner is released, that the victim is notified. And they think that it's overkill because now at any time that a victim has a question or has a concern or needs to address something, they can take that now in front of the court if this passes. So there's no one against the issue of victims' rights. In Ohio, they believe that they have certain things in place, the opponents of this, but it is self-explanatory. We did not want to spend very much time on it only because it is pretty self-explanatory. If you read the legislation, it's very easy to read and very easy to follow. However, issue two is a scary and violent and vitriol-filled. Both sides are throwing millions of dollars as to this. We thought initially that it was simple. I mean, read it. To require state agencies to not pay more for prescription drugs than the Federal Department of Veteran Affairs, and require state payment of attorney fees and expenses to specific individuals for defense of the law. It seemed very, very clear-cut. It is anything but. So what we did on this issue, since each side that wanted to come speak on it, frankly, scared the hell out of us. Because, I mean, there was no allowing for any other side. So what we did is we contacted the newspapers and friends, and we asked for a story that would clearly put both sides in perspective and just provide the facts. Both our friends at the Chronicle Telegram and our friends at the Journal suggested there was a story in the Dayton Review, I believe it was. So what we did is we took the excerpts of the story that just talked about how we got to be here, what the support side feels and what the opponents feel. And we made that, we made a document that's at the desk that anybody can pick up. It clearly cites, because each of the sides have some legitimate concerns. But the major points of it on both sides are on a sheet up front. We urge you to take it with us, and we will be posting it on the CHIP website. But it is a very complicated issue. It is not exactly what it appears to be. So we urge you, take a good look at it before you vote. Next slide. Then we have 3 county issues on the ballot. We asked the commissioners if they could send us someone to address these issues. I think they were very busy, and not everyone, they did not send a representative for each one. However, we do have 2 representatives here. So we're going to start with issue 2, with issue 3. I believe the tuberculosis clinic is the organization that's not here. And so we're going to start with issue 3, 911 emergency service. We'd like to please invite the representative up to the microphone, and you will have 3 minutes to pitch that issue to the voters of Lorain. And please, again, speak to the camera.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Tracy Lopez. I'm the director of the County 911 Agency. I feel very fortunate. I've been working for the agency for about 23 years now. It's amazing to see what our incredible dispatchers do for the public. Obviously, it's something, is a number that you never want to use. However, you want to know that it's there for you if you do have an emergency or if you have to use 911. The time's come in November again for our great citizens who have always supported us in the past for many years, actually since 1989, since the agency's been in existence. Time to ask for their support again for our issue. I personally am not just speaking as a director. I've been a lifelong resident of Lorain County. I depend on the services just like you do. My family lives here as well. Just to give you some specifics, the cost of a home valued at $100,000 is about $17.50 a year. That will pay for the 911 services, pay for training of the employees, and offer the services that we give. So to break that down, about $1.46 per month for a resident of a $100,000 home. Just to share with you some of the services that we offer, our agency handles a call volume of about 200,000 calls per year. And that includes calls from landlines, business, wireless phones, any type of phone service in Lorain County. Anybody that places a 911 call will come into our center. Our employees are fully trained dispatchers. They're also trained to offer medical instructions. For example, choking, CPR instructions to someone that may need those instructions prior to the ambulance arriving. So those can often be life-saving instructions given after the ambulance has been notified to respond to the scene. We also offer a language line service, it provides our dispatchers with the ability to have interpretation for up to 240 different languages, allows us for faster, efficient dispatch, makes language barriers be able to be taken care of, and to get people help that they deserve within a quick fashion. We are also a contact point for helicopter services, poison control centers, hazardous materials teams, tech rescue teams, and the Lorain County dive team as well. Supporting our levy, or continuing to support our levy, allows the center to maintain and provide the enhanced call locating technology, keep our mapping up to date, train our employees, and also keep our software up to date to allow for quick and efficient dispatch. And I'd also want to point out that this is a renewal levy and not a replacement. So again, about $17.50 per year per $100,000 home valuation. So again, I want to thank you for your continued support over the years and for allowing me to come speak to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy Lopez. You know that Lorain County we've been hard hit with a lot of stuff. We're struggling, but there are always services, and there are always essential services that we need to support. Obviously, this is one of them. So give it some serious consideration, and always ask yourself that question: where would we be if we didn't have the service? And let that also help to guide you. Another issue, obviously, that's all you hear. Well, besides the crazy stuff you hear a lot about the opiate epidemic and what's happening, and that drugs are permeating every corner of our society. So there is an issue 4, which is dealing with the drug task force. And today we have Detective Greg Mailing to talk on that issue. Detective Mailing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the Coalition for the invitation to be here tonight. I've been a police officer in this county for a long, long time, in case you hadn't figured it out yet, and we are here tonight to ask for your support to renew the Drug Task Force levy. It's 0.08 mils. It's a very small amount. We like to say that it costs the owner of a $100,000 home a gallon of milk a year. And this is up for renewal. It has been on the tax duplicate since 2014, and it is up in the fall. Some of the things that the Lorain County Drug Task Force has done that you may not be aware of, we were the first police agency in Ohio, and all of our supporting police departments were the first agencies in Ohio to get a drug which is very commonly used today called Narcan. And Narcan will reverse an opioid overdose almost immediately, within seconds. Paramedics have had it for a long time, but no law enforcement agency in Ohio had ever had it. So we got the law changed that said that police officers can carry this. We've had this now for almost 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, law enforcement in this county in 4 years has saved 350 lives. That is 350 moms or dads or sons or daughters that are alive today, hopefully are in rehab and getting their lives back on track. And they would not have been here had it not been for the Narcan. And we're really, really proud of that. And the first couple of times that we issued this drug, because it has a 2-year shelf life, our hospitals, Mercy and Elyria Medical Center, stepped up and they said, we'll pay for it. And we instituted the training for the law enforcement with nurses from our county health department. So we trained several hundred law enforcement officers and put Narcan on the street. We didn't save or spend $1 of public money, and we saved 350 lives. Again, we're going to ask for your support come November. If you have a $100,000 house, it's going to cost you the equivalent of a gallon of milk a year. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your encouragement. We appreciate your prayers. And let us all be safe. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Detective. This ends the issues portion, and now we're going to be getting into the races. But we do want to welcome Steve Mannheim from the Chronicle Telegram. Where are you, Steve? Is he here? Oh, there he is. And also, Morning General Kevin Martin is also here, and we thank you guys for covering this. But it's a long, long time friend. I don't know if you remember, but if you've been around as long as I have, you do remember the remarkable work of another journal. Listen, that was Mr. Dan Martin over in the corner here. Dan Smith, I'm sorry. And Dan has done a lot of good work, asked tough questions even when I was a kid. And look at him now. He's also now raising money for organizations. He is now with the Lions Club. He has a table set up back there. The Lions have supported this community always, and I believe they have their annual pancake breakfast. Those of you running for office, I strongly suggest you attend that breakfast. So let's transition right into our first race. That'll be the first ward. So we invite Beth Henley, Democrat. I'm sorry. Yeah, Beth Henley, Democrat, and David McKenzie to have a seat at the table. Both of you, if we understand correctly, Ms. Henley has defeated the incumbent.
Yes.
Now, so both of you are actually running here for your first elected position. We congratulate you both, and even for your courage in running for office at this time.
Thank you.
In this country. So we'd like to start with your opening statements, and we will begin with candidate Henley.
First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me here, and thanks to everyone in the audience. I am married. I have 3 adult married children and 9 grandchildren. I attended St. Anthony's over on the east side, and I'm also a graduate of Lorain High School, class of '73. And I attended Lorain Community College. I have been employed full-time as the operations manager for Randall House Properties and Henny Homes and their affiliated companies. I am a 40-year resident of the First Ward. I grew up here and I chose to return here. I know the residents, I know the neighborhoods, and I know the issues. As a longtime resident, I'm not a newcomer to being actively involved in my neighborhood. I have been a part of the Block Watch for 12 years, and most recently, you know, the head of the Block Watch and its members have been responsible for the revitalization of Century Park, a reduction in crime, and also most recently for Longfellow Park cleanup. Thank you.
Mr. McKenzie, your opening remarks.
Thank you. First off, I would like to thank you for inviting me here. It's an honor and a privilege to be speaking. I am a resident for the past 14 years of Lorain. I live on East Erie with my wife, Callie, and my 3 kids. And they are, in fact, 5th generation Lorain residents. I currently reside on the Spiritual Life Council at Lorain, or at Open Door Christian Schools, and I also serve on the tech team at Open Door Church. After earning a degree in marketing from Cedarville University, I had an 11-year career at Walgreens. It's here that I learned to speak and communicate with people and to find creative problem solving for them. In fact, one of the biggest joys that I had is taking a customer who was upset, finding a solution, and having them leave the store happy. Reason why I'm running for city council is because I see so many communities in our area that are thriving, and I want to see Lorain be one of those.
Thank you. And so we'll go right into our first question, and we will begin with you, Mr. McKenzie. If elected, what attributes or skills do you bring to your elected position? Please provide an example of how you would utilize these attributes or skills to meet the needs of the citizens in your ward.
I think the biggest skill that I have is that I enjoy talking with people and enjoy finding out what their needs are. I have ability to think creatively and to think outside the box. And really, if I'm elected, what I want to do is be able to hear the people and to be able to give them a voice for and to make their voices heard. I also want to find solutions, and I want to be someone that can come, that they can come to, that they know that I would be able to help them.
Thank you. Ms. Henley, same question.
I have a 40-year background in housing, new construction, property management, residential and commercial, building and development. So that being said, I think one of the issues in my ward and throughout the city is some of the unkept housing. So I think my background would serve me well in this position as council. I've also been very active in the community, in the First Ward for many, many years, and I'm already out there doing what I need to do to serve my community. Many of you know me from my past history, and many of you know me from just meeting me, going door to door and being out and about. I'm an effective communicator, so I will have 3 sources to reach me. I will be accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now for your second question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Henley. If elected, what would your ward priorities during the next 2 years?
My priorities for our ward would be absolutely making sure that the ordinance is on the books, that there's code enforcement, bringing up to par the housing, going after these people who cannot understand our new trash pickup, and I'm tired of seeing piles of stuff on curbs from move-outs or clean-outs. So those would be one of the big things. Also pursuing this fire station that has been long promised for the east side. There are plans out there, we have a budget, and before that goes away, I'd like to see it come to fruition. We've been left unprotected for too long, and cleaning up the parks, crime, I mean, there's a whole scope of things that I intend to tackle.
Thank you. Same question for you, Mr. McKenzie. If elected, what would be your ward priorities during the next 2 years?
I think the biggest challenge that Lorain has right now is the fact that the lack of job opportunities. And we have tremendous resources. We have the river, we have the waterfront, we have the railroad, we have easy access to the highways. And I feel that we have a lot of resources that should attract companies, and we should be able to do that. And I think once you bring jobs into the community, I think that will, that's kind of the root of the problem. I think a lot of these other things are symptoms of the problem, and I think once you solve the root of the problem, some of these other problems will start solving themselves.
Okay, your last question going to you, Mr. McKenzie. Due to the crisis in Puerto Rico, more and more families are moving to Lorain and Cleveland. Several of these families have limited English speaking skills. If they move to your ward, how will you communicate with them?
Well, when I worked at Walgreens, I worked at both Walgreens here in Lorain, and I actually ran into this several times. And so the ability to speak with someone, I don't speak Spanish, however, I have several people in my life that do. I have both my sister and my sister-in-law who speak Spanish. My brother-in-law is an immigrant from El Salvador. So I would have resources that at first, if I couldn't communicate them with myself, I would probably bring one of them along to help communicate with them.
Same question, Ms. Henley.
Okay, first of all, I do speak minimal Spanish. I have an understanding of Spanish, though, so when it's spoke to me, I generally understand what people are saying. However, that being said, to avoid any miscommunication, I have many, many friends who are very, very fluent in Spanish, so ideally, it would be important right up front to bring them in to make sure that I'm getting the story straight and so that I'm able to respond to them. Because of Lorain's large Hispanic population, there is no end to people that are willing to step up and translate. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now we're ending with our closing statements, starting with you, Ms. Henley.
In closing, I'd like to say again that I am a 40-year resident of the First Ward. I know the residents, I know the neighborhoods, and I know the issues plaguing my ward that impact the quality of life. Residents want someone to listen to them, to advocate for them, and to work to resolve these issues, and I believe I am that person. I've attended council meetings for many, many years. I've been active in the Block Watch for 12 years as co-founder for one and co-captain for the current one, and also current secretary. I'm a member of the Lorain Historical Society, Lorain Women's Dems Club, Invest Lorain, Lorain City Democrats, and Lorain Community Seniors. I have been endorsed by the Lorain City Democrats, by the Lorain County Labor Agency, AFL-CIO, and also the Lorain Firefighters, Local 267. I thank you for your consideration, and I would appreciate your vote on November 7th. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak here.
Thank you. And Mr. McKenzie?
You know, I just want to say that I really feel that Lorain has tremendous potential. I think we have great resources, and I think we have an ability to attract companies and bring jobs. I think when you do that, you are going to solve so many of our problems that we face here. And I want to bring my youth, I want to bring my energy, I want to bring my ability to listen and think outside the box to solve problems, to help the citizens of Lorain. So I humbly ask for your vote, and I really do look forward to bringing what I feel is a very bright future for Lorain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move into our second race with the second ward.
Every year, the Salvation Army serves nearly 30 million people in need. That's one person every second. So by the time you've finished watching this, 30 more lives will have been changed for good. All thanks to your donations.
Thank you.
We're going to move into our second race. It is for second ward council, with the candidates being Kyrese Brooks, who is a Democrat, and Dennis Flores, who is also, who is a Democrat, Dennis Flores, who is also a Democrat. You will note on the screen that Kyrese Brooks is a write-in candidate. That means that when you go to the elections, you must write his name in the way it actually appears for that vote to count. So please keep that in mind. So we're going to begin with opening statements, and we'll begin with Dennis Flores.
I'd like to thank CHIPS, the Coalition of Hispanics in Progress, for hosting this event this evening, as well as Lorain City Schools for their beautiful venue. I've been on council for 4 terms. I've served on the Police and Fire Committee. I currently serve on the Finance and Claims, federal programs. I'm chairman of the federal programs, as well as the Parks and Recs.
Mr. Brooks, your opening statement.
Again, my name is Kyrese Brooks. I am the write-in candidate for Second Ward. I've been lived in Lorain all my life. I am the director and founder of Lorain County Stop the Violence. I graduated from Lorain High School in 2013, and I've been fighting for change ever since then. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go right into our first question. We'll start with you, Mr. Brooks. If elected, what attributes and skills do you bring to your elected position? And please provide us an example of how you would utilize these attributes or skills to meet the needs of the citizens in your ward.
I think I have a wide range of attributes and skills. I am dedicated and hardworking.
I'm sorry, the question, the first, Mr. Brooks will start with the question. You had the opening statement, so he has to start first on the questions.
Very well.
Okay. Mr. Brooks?
If elected, my skills is communication and rebuilding. And those are the 2 keys that I believe that Second Ward needs, is rebuilding and communication. And the first thing that I would do if I'm elected to solve those problems is go out in the community and build relationships that Second Ward lacks now, and I will get out and bring more things into Second Ward, make it look new again and loving again as it once did.
Mr. Flores, same question. If elected, what attributes or skills do you bring to your elected position? And please provide us an example of how you would utilize these attributes and skills to meet the needs of the citizens in your ward.
I think that I've done a lot with my attributes and my skills, and it involves a wide range of issues. Being involved in the community, the cleanups, Pride Day, getting out in the community and speaking with the residents. And I think my hard work and dedication in the last 4 terms has proven that. An example would be the 11th Street cleanup in Long Avenue, where we pulled couches, tires, mattresses off the roadway and onto the street, and we were able to coordinate with the streets department to have that area cleaned up. And the Norfolk and Southern finally got that area with the high grass cut, so my record speaks for itself.
Okay, second question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Flores. If reelected, what would be your ward's priorities during the next 2 years?
I think we need jobs, and there's definitely a movement in the downtown and waterfront development. I would like to continue with the roadway improvements and infrastructure upgrades, as well as bringing people downtown for all the festivals. So I think those two things are very important for the revitalization of our downtown and our waterfront.
Okay, thank you. Same question for you, Mr. Brooks. If elected, what would be your ward's priorities during the next 2 years?
If I'm elected, my ward priorities would be the parks, the roads, and safety. And parks because kids should be able to go somewhere where it looks beautiful. Go there and have a good time no matter the season. Roads because people should be able to ride down the road without busting tires in their front end of their car. And safety because people should be able to feel safe no matter the hour nor the day when they are walking through the streets of Lorain. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question. Due to the crisis in Puerto Rico, more and more families are moving to Cleveland and Lorain. Several of these families have limited speaking English. And if they move into your ward, how would you communicate with them? Starting with you, Mr. Brooks.
First thing I would do is get a translator, and I would begin to take classes to learn their language. And that's what I plan to do anyways, begin to take classes to learn their language so that I can be able to have a personal connection and a personal relationship with them. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Same question, Mr. Flores.
The devastation and the catastrophe that has happened in Puerto Rico, we've been trying to get a hold of some of our relatives. We have left messages, but I think that I would help in the respect that they're going to have to rebuild. And so I would invite someone that would want to come and stay here until the island can recuperate. So I don't think there would be a language barrier, but I would extend a hand to help someone until they can rebuild, and then eventually go back to Puerto Rico, because there's a lot of work there that's going to be done, and I think if they're going to stay there, it's not going to be good. So I would invite them into my home and pay for their airfare to come and stay until they can move back.
Thank you. And you each will get 1 minute for closing statements. We'll start with you, Mr. Flores.
There's a lot of unfinished business, and so I think with the Broadway building and the downtown streetscape, we have the St. Joseph's Hospital, which is currently flooded with 5 foot of water. So there's a lot of unresolved issues, and I would like to continue in the next year to be positive and bring the positive influence of the arts. We have a festival this weekend, Firefish, and promote the international festival and the parades, and to continue serving the residents in the community. So early voting starts Wednesday, October the 11th. I'd appreciate respectfully and humbly for your support and your vote on Tuesday, November the 7th.
Thank you. And Mr. Brooks, your 1 minute in closing statements.
It's time to rebuild. Let's come together and make this change. Let's come together and make Lorain great again. Let's make our parks safe again. Let's make our roads smooth again. Let's make our youth have fun again. Let's bring the pride back to Lorain again. Let's make Lorain great again. And I ask for your vote on November 7th. Have a blessed day, and thanks again.
Thank you. That would conclude the second race as we transition to our third round with the 4th Ward.
For the thousands of wounded warriors returning from battle, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a unique program that helps wounded warriors translate their military experience to the civilian workplace. The Warriors to Work program also works with employers to find the right job for the right warrior. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
Okay, you have 1 minute for your opening remarks, and we're starting with you, Mr. Argenti.
Buenas noches y gracias a Chip por presentar este debate. Little Italian slang there, but yeah. I'm Greg Argenti. I am the Lorain City Council 4th Ward representative, and I've been a resident of the 4th Ward for over 25 years. It's been my great honor to serve my fellow 4th Ward neighbors since 2014. I currently serve as chairman of the Police, Fire, and Legislative Committee and vice chair of the Building and Lands Committee. I've learned many things about the process of city government in the last 4 years. Actually, come to find out that first year or so, I did not know a heck of a lot. Some fellow veteran council persons, members of the administration were very kind to me and helped me along in those early days, and I thank them for that. I feel better prepared now more than ever to represent my neighbors in the 4th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, and your 1 minute opening statement, Mr. Napakowski.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks to Chip for having me here, for having all of us here, honestly. Organizations such as this are just the bedrock of this city. My father, Ron Napakowski, absolutely loved them, and I completely see why he was so involved and why he believed so wholeheartedly in all of them. And like him, I believe in Lorain. I see the potential, not just the warts. I feel the pride and eschew the skepticism. Most of all, like him, I want to be an active partner in change, in the growth, in the ultimate rebirth of our town, a town that some may have given up on, but that has all the potential in the world to become a bastion of arts and entertainment and progressivism and self-actualization to anyone who chooses to take a chance on growing with our city. That, of course, is a grand citywide view. But I'm running for 4th Ward. Specifically, I'd like to coin a new phrase, if I could, about the 4th Ward and wards like it. I like to think of them as gateway wards, because the first thing you see when you come to our town are the wards. As you exit 90 Minute Turnpike and you come into Lorain, you see wards like the 4th Ward. I want us to be that gateway ward. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go right into the questions, and we will begin with you, Mr. Napakowski. What do you feel are the most important needs of the residents in your ward?
Well, I mean, honestly, infrastructure. If you live in the 4th Ward, and I've been honored to be able to live there for the last 7 years, we've seen flooding. You see flooding all the time, and that, to the extent that it happens, is pretty much unacceptable for a modern city. Oftentimes you see snow mounds on the road that X Games performers would be excited to ride on. And the streetlights are sometimes redundant, sometimes non-existent, or sometimes just, baffling. And stuff like infrastructure, where we can change it up, make it a little more accessible for all the citizens in my ward, is something that I really find important. Thank you.
Mr. Argenti, what do you feel are the most important needs of the residents in your ward?
That would be the flooding issue, and there is a retention basin plans in the works, or are actually being drawn up for a retention basin off Baldwin Boulevard. Want to really press to get that, bring that to fruition. That's been on the table for a long time, and want to push to get that through. The roads, also, there are a lot of roads in Lorain. They have to be, the wards have to take turns. You fight for your ward, but there are eight wards in Lorain, and you have to share that road money. I have paved over 15 roads in the last 2 years with our paver that we bought in 2014. So we are getting it done, but it's a very slow process. Thank you.
Okay, and starting with you, Mr. Argenti, for the second question. What do you believe will be the greatest challenge for the city of Lorain during the next 2 years?
Economic development first, and we need to continue the development of the lakefront, of our waterfront. What needs to be done there is the Spitzer building needs to be demolished as soon as possible. We need to really get on that. For a while there was some speculation that a developer was coming in. That's not going to happen. So we need, that building is in the way right now, and that needs to come down. We need to sell or lease or the current city hall. That is also in the way of development. We need to relocate city hall offices and get that current city hall building under development. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for you, Mr. Nabokowski. What do you believe will be the greatest challenge for the city of Lorain during the next 2 years?
I believe the greatest challenge is also the greatest opportunity, and it is bringing more jobs into the city of Lorain, and not just big jobs, not just jobs that, you know, everyone wants that great white knight that comes in, a large factory that employs 2,500 people or something, and I don't believe that's ever going to be the case anymore. So the greatest challenge in the next 2 years for us is to emphasize and create an atmosphere where small businesses, where entrepreneurs, where people, locals especially, can come in, open a business, the city backs them, the city gives them all the help it possibly can, and if the city does its job and helps promote those small businesses will help the city of Lorain tenfold. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question, starting with you, Mr. Nabokowski. Can you think of any circumstances related to your elected position under which you might have to go against the wishes of your party leaders? And please cite an example.
I mean, let's face it, politics as usual is a phrase that was tossed around this last national campaign ad nauseum. But it has a bone of truth to it, where if I feel like I'm sitting in a council meeting and the same conversations are being had over and over again, the same, what's the word I'm looking for here? The same silly thing, arguments are being had, I'm not going to stand for it. I'm going to step up and try to direct us in a more positive way. The council should be backing the city in every possible way. We represent our wards. We represent our citizens. We represent the people who voted for us. And we shouldn't be bickering over things like beehives. Thank you.
And you, Mr. Argenti?
Thank you. That's the beauty of being an independent, nonpartisan candidate. I can take the best of both. Partisan politics really doesn't come into play a whole lot at our level, at the local level. We're not discussing national issues, immigration policy, things like that. So it really doesn't come into play a whole heck of a lot, but it is nice to be able to go on both sides of the aisle. Of course, in Lorain, it's all Democrats, with the exception of myself. And like I say, that's the beauty of being an independent. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're ending with your 1-minute closing statement, starting with you, Mr. Argenti.
I take the job of 4th Ward Councilman very seriously, and I've made the necessary time commitment to do the job properly. In 2 terms on council, I have a record of perfect attendance at every regular council meeting and every committee meeting of which I'm a member. I hold town hall meetings regarding timely topics on a regular basis, and I maintain my independent, nonpartisan status while earning the respect of many other members of council, the administration, and department heads. After only 1 term on council, I was appointed chairman of the Police, Fire, and Legislative Committee and vice chair of the Building and Lands Committee. I'm available to my fellow 4th Ward residents via phone, text, email, personal visits, in my driveway, when I'm out raking leaves, washing the car. Everybody knows where to find me. Also, I like to think that I've dissuaded the misconception that you have to have a D next to your name to support organized labor and the working men and women of Lorain County in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. And your closing statement, Mr. Nabokowski?
Someone once gave me a piece of advice when I first started just going for this 4th Ward City Council seat, and he said to me, you know, honestly, all they care about is clean streets and functioning sewers, and you have that going on for you, you're probably just fine. And I thought, that's just not enough. I love my city, and I love my ward, and I love the potential that we have as a city, as a community, as citizens, to create something that other towns don't expect us to do. I believe that my ward can be what I call the gateway ward. We can be that first impression that brings people in to a downtown that is flourishing and to a city in general that is on the rise. I thank you guys for your time. I thank you for all just hanging out here today with me, Mr. Argenti as well. And as always, remain Lorain proud.
This concludes our discussion for the 4th Ward Council. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we'll be going back to our 8th Ward race.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and has the medals to prove it. Soon after leaving the Navy, Lieutenant Chris Scott found a job, a home, and started a family of his own. Corpsman Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to good use as a paramedic. But soon after leaving the military, each of these veterans fell on hard times and faced homelessness. Even after Michelle lost all her savings, even after Chris wasn't able to pay his mortgage, and even after Richard battled alcoholism for years, they each reached out for help when they needed it most. A simple phone call put them in touch with a trained professional from the Department of Veterans Affairs. That call got Michelle a place to stay until she could afford one of her own, put Chris in touch with employment assistance, and found Richard a substance abuse program. These veterans are success stories not only for how they were able to help others while serving their country, but for how they were able to let others help them. If you know of or are a veteran in need, make the call.
Okay, so welcome back, everyone, and we are now covering the 8th Ward Council for Lorain. The candidates are Denver Casto, Republican, and Joshua Thornsberry, Democrat. We'll begin with opening statements. Mr. Casto, we'll begin with you.
Good evening. I would like to thank CHIPS for having us, for the Lorain schools for providing a place like this so that we can get together, meet the candidates, and have a little bit of insight as to where we are, who we are, and what we have. I am assured that with this, people will get a new look at a lot of the challengers as well as some of the others. But I am married. I have 13 children. I have 31 grandchildren and 29 great-grandchildren. So I wish, I want to thank my wife. I want to thank the residents of the 8th Ward for asking me to run for this position, and I feel honored to be able to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Thornsberry.
Thank you, sir. I would like to first thank Chip for hosting the event, to Lorain City Schools for allowing us to use this facility, which is just absolutely amazing. It's truly a crown jewel of our city. Would also like to thank the PACE group, student group, for their involvement here tonight. Again, my name is Joshua Thornsberry, married to Jenny. We live in Deerfield with our son, Hunter, who's 9 years old, who keeps me pretty busy. Been very fortunate for the last 4 years to serve as the 8th Ward Councilman. It's been truly one of the best experiences of my life. When I'm not serving the community as 8th Ward Councilman, serving other communities by teaching in Lakewood. I teach middle school social studies to 8th graders, which can be challenging if you've been around 8th graders very much. Also coach a lot of youth sports, mostly my son's sports teams, but a lot of the children in the 8th Ward, they call me Coach Josh. A lot of my students at school, they call me Mr. T. And again, it's been a total honor and privilege to serve for the last 4 years. My neighbors, my friends, my ward, my city, truly a blessing, and I look forward to continuing that service. Thank you.
Okay, so getting to our first question, we'll begin with Mr. Thornsberry. What do you feel are the most important needs of the residents in your ward?
Well, I believe the 8th Ward is very unique. Again, I believe it's a beacon of light within the city of Lorain. That does not mean that we don't have needs. The 8th Ward needs are very similar to the needs all around the city. They want their potholes fixed. They want police and fire protection. They want parks where the grass is cut more than 3 times a summer. They want snow removal. They want these services, and the 8th Ward is very fortunate that it has extremely high property values. But again, our job as a city is to deliver those services, because if we're not doing our job as a city and we're not delivering those services, then those property values are going to start to decrease. Very, very proud of the 12 streets that we've been able to get paved since I came on to council. It's over $5 million in roadwork money that's been spent in the 8th Ward, and we have more scheduled for next year already. So again, that infrastructure, those things, those services, that's what's going to keep those property values up. Thank you.
Mr. Castro, same question. What do you feel are the most important needs of the residents in your ward?
I feel that the most pressing needs are, we have flooding issues, we have traffic issues with the additional housing being built out there. I also feel that there is a need for a master plan for development. I think that we need to stop all this spot zoning. I think we need to hold all the developers accountable. I think that the people are wanting accountability. And I feel that my voice on council will be their voice. Thank you.
And for your second question, starting with you, Mr. Casto, what do you believe will be the greatest challenge for the city of Lorain during the next 2 years?
I believe that the biggest challenge for the city of Lorain is going to be economically. Right now we're going through a part of severe drought as far as businesses. We have lost several businesses, and my hope is that we can start a new small business fund and help to get these businesses rolling, no matter how small. If you have 2 people employed, that's 2 more than we had. And I think that a lot of it we need to do, like I said, we need to, with the flooding, some of the other sewer issues that we have, traffic, and a lot of the zoning. Thank you.
And same question for you, Mr. Thornsberry. What do you believe will be the greatest challenge of Lorain in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I 100% believe, like many of my colleagues here tonight, that economic development, fiscal stability is the way I would describe it. We have to get to a point in the city where we're not living paycheck to paycheck as a city, or we're not always in a fiscal crisis. And the only way that's going to happen is by bringing in jobs, good quality jobs. I believe the 8th Ward can be looked at as an example of what can happen in other parts of the city. The 8th Ward has been able to transition to a new modern economy better than other parts of the city. So I think we need to take some of what's happened in the 8th Ward and we need to get that going on everywhere. I believe that we need to work through the Port Authority to seek all types of economic development to the betterment of our city. I do not support the idea of hiring another city worker to be in charge of economic development. I think the Port Authority is the perfect authority to do that, and I'm going to continue to push that on council. Thank you.
Thank you. Your last question, starting with you, Mr. Thornsberry. Can you think of any circumstances related to your elected position under which you might have to go against the wishes of your party leaders? Please cite a possible example.
Yeah, I'm probably in a unique situation to answer this question. I can tell you that having been previously elected as an independent and now running as a Democrat for probably about 18 months ago is when I switched over to the Democratic Party. I have not received one phone call from one party leader telling me to vote one way or not vote another way. And I'll admit I was probably the biggest one that thought that's always what was happening behind closed doors. And I don't know if maybe it's just me, but I haven't received a single call. I do not play party politics. I'm not asking anybody to vote for me because of some letter after my name. I'm asking you to support me on November 7th because of the job I've done and the job I'm going to continue to do for my ward and my city. Thank you.
Same question, Mr. Casco.
Repeat the question, please.
Can you think of any circumstances related to your elected position under which you might have to go against the wishes of your party leaders? Please cite a possible example.
I don't really see anything, since I'm the only R that's there. I don't see how I would have to go against too many of my fellow party people, but I am there for the people. I'm not a D, I'm not an I, I'm not an R. I'm someone that is concerned, I'm someone that loves, and I'm someone that lives in the 8th Ward because I want to. It's something that I'm proud of. I'm proud to call Lorain an international city, my home. Not by chance, but by choice. And I feel that this is our greatest asset, is our international city classification. Thank you.
You will each have 1 minute in closing statements, and we'll start with you, Mr. Casto.
I have been a resident of the 8th Ward for over 35 years. When I moved to Yeager Road, there wasn't anything but farmland. I've seen it develop, and I'm proud of some of the changes that have gone there. As well as I'm not too proud of some of the changes that are planned, some of the changes that could be. I feel that we need to take what we have and utilize it instead of trying to take and make new. There is almost a division as far as the new West and the old West goes. And for that, I'm sorry, and I will try to unite both sides, because I know that both sides have issues and concerns, and if anyone knows, it's me. Thank you.
Mr. Thornsberry, your 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm asking for your support on November 7th because we made promises last election and we've kept those promises. We promised to deliver the 8th Ward's fair share of roadwork money, and the roads keep getting done. Go down Oak Hill Boulevard, go down Canarum, go down Pickett, West Erie. We promised to hold developers accountable. We've got west side ditches cleaned out on developers' dimes that haven't been cleaned out in 25 years. We've got developers to make financial contributions for public infrastructure improvements. We have fought for the citizens' right to speak at all council meetings. We have fought to eliminate wasteful spending, such as part-time councilmen receiving health care benefits. We have fought west side flooding by getting the Martins Run Ditch Phase 1 done and getting those ditches cleaned out, and we're working on Phase 2 right now. So we're asking for your support because we made promises to you last time. We kept those promises, and we're going to keep fighting for the residents of the 8th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, 8th Ward candidates, and now we will transition into our treasurer's race.
In an instant, life can change. Hi, I'm veteran J.R. Martinez. If you've been hurt or disabled due to your service, the last thing you need to do is hurry up and wait for a VA claims decision. Make sure you file an electronic, fully developed claim, or e-claim, for disability compensation on e-benefits. It's the fastest and easiest way to get a claims decision. Learn more at ebenefits.va.gov. E-claims and e-benefits, online VA claims made simple.
Ms. Tower, we welcome you. We were notified by Terry Soto that she had to attend a treasurer's training and conference and would not be able to attend tonight. So you will have the floor all to yourself, the questions all to yourself, the statements all to yourself, and the audience all to yourself. So we'd like to begin, Ms. Tower, with your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tabitha Tower. I am a candidate for Lorain City Treasurer. I grew up in Lorain. I was born and raised in Lorain. I am the mother of 2 sons and a daughter-in-law, but I'm not a grandmother yet. I am the daughter of Bishop Peter and Miss Clara Tower. I'm a graduate of Clearview High School, and I have a Bachelor of Business Administration with a major in accounting from Tiffany University, and I studied journalism a little bit at Ball State University. And currently, I am volunteering at the radio station owned by the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, my father's church, that is WSAVLP, Power 93.7 FM.
Thank you. And for your first question, what do you believe is the role of the Lorain City Treasurer in relation to the governance of Lorain?
Okay, I believe that the role of the Lorain City Treasurer is to keep the books, keep the financial data, to issue the reports, to provide information to the publics that request that information. If for example, even auditors, for example, if auditors come in, provide that information to the auditors. And I also believe that the job of the Lorain City Treasurer is to to collect the income tax and to apply for federal funding to assist programs, assist us in current programs that we have, and to basically perform analytical reviews, create a budget, allocate the funds, those types of financial duties.
Thank you. So let's ask you more of a little personal question. In what order do you rank your party, your family, and your constituency, and for what reasons?
Okay. I rank in order. I'll go with what Mr. Fallis once said, God, and then my family, my constituents, and then my party. The family, the community itself is comprised of families, and so are parties, and so are the constituents. And so our families are first. And when we run for public office, when we step out there to do something, whether it's just get a job or to take public office, is because we have family and we want to support our families. And then that extends to our community and then our party. The constituents can be from any party, and I'm just grateful they voted for me, and therefore I rank them higher than the party. And the party itself, I'm just glad to be a part of that.
Thank you very much.
All right, and for your third and final question, what is the biggest barrier to Lorain once again becoming a prospering city? And what is our best chance for overcoming this barrier?
Okay, the biggest barrier to Lorain becoming a prosperous city is economics. It's the lack of jobs, the lack of businesses to create jobs for individuals and for families. So I believe that that is the biggest barrier. Ways that we can overcome it is to create an environment economically where businesses will be attracted to Lorain and decide to move into Lorain, where they can create jobs and bring jobs to the city.
Thank you. And you will have 1 minute in your closing remarks.
Okay, I would like to thank Chip for this opportunity to speak to you all today. And I basically just want to ask you all for your support and for your vote. I was born and raised in Lorain. I remember when I was young and I was a teenager, and I worked downtown for a little bit. Lorain was a thriving place, and it was a great place to live. And I never thought of it in a negative way. I didn't think, oh, the city has any financial issues or anything like that. It was just a great place, a friendly place. And so I would like to see that again in this city. And I humbly and respectfully ask for your support and your vote on November 7th, 2017.
Thank you very much. And now we will move on to our next race, which is the President of Council.
Hi, my name is Tyler Strong. I'm 17 years old and I just finished 12th grade at Lorain High School. I was in the Welding Career Tech Education Program. I will tell you that welding is very different and very enjoyable. I wound up into welding my senior year and after my first semester and fell in love with it. It's kind of like an art. It's different every day. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give difficulty of program 6 to a 7. You got to keep doing it until you get it right. I did the very best I could in the welding program and it really paid off. I got admitted to Lincoln Electric Welding School, which is the leader in the world for welding products and equipment. My teacher helped me out and he called and spoke to the manager and got me into the school. My advice to anyone unsure what they want to study, it doesn't hurt to try. If you think you might like welding, take the class, check it out. What I love about welding is you can physically see the results of everything you do. It's all in your hands. I know what I'm doing with my future, and I'm doing it thanks to Lorain High's Welding Manufacturing Career Tech program.
Said that she would be here. So if she might get in on one of the questions if she gets here soon, but we have to proceed. So we welcome the current President of Council, Joe Arredondo, and we'll begin with his opening statement.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chip. This is stated earlier by President Juanita Senkis that this is our 17th year for Chip to host it. I had the pleasure of being president, the original one, and I'm glad that this great forum has continued over the years. As president of City Council the last 10 years, I have done a lot of great things, I believe, with the support of my constituents, my council members. If you notice, being up front of the camera is not very easy. As Mr. Argeni said when he was on council 2 years ago, his first term, it's a little different when you're sitting in that box and people are staring at you, wondering, what are you going to do? How are you going to change Lorain? And expectations run pretty high. As myself, on my first term, I could remember going through the same trepidations, but I was very fortunate to have senior members on council, along with Clerk of Court of Council, Miss Nancy Greer, who guided me, assisted me. But before that, I was in other leadership positions. As a Boy Scout, growing up, I was ingrained with two things. Number one, to be prepared, and number two, to do a good turn daily. I have adhered to this throughout my life, and I have been able, I believe, to carry that through in my leadership role as President of Lorain City Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With your first question, what is your position on deferred action for childhood arrivals, or DACA?
My position is that we should never be in this position. As we all know, this was a presidential executive order that President Obama passed under his administration. Once again, President Trump, as president, has the right to rescind that, because all it is an executive order. I believe firmly that this has to be resolved by our elected senators and congresspeople. If you remember the Emancipation Proclamation, when President Abraham Lincoln declared that, that's all it was. It was just a proclamation. It had really no teeth, no force. That's why he knew the urgency, the immediacy. If anybody saw the movie Lincoln, where they had to get this legislation signed as an amendment. It is no different in City Council when we pass resolutions. A resolution is just a suggestion, a support, either for or against. It's when ordinances are passed, those are similar to amendments or legislation. So hopefully this DACA, unfortunately, it's not a good situation because we have a lot of young people who, no fault of their own, have been cast in this web. They are the future of our country, the minds, the leaders, the entrepreneurs. So obviously, I would like to hope that this could be resolved. Thank you.
For your second question, Lorain has been listed on some websites as a sanctuary city. For those at home and in the audience who may not know, a sanctuary city is where undocumented immigrants are not prosecuted for the sole reasons of being here illegally. What is your position on sanctuary cities?
For the record, Lorain is not a sanctuary city. If you go on any website, the sanctuary cities in the state of Ohio are Cleveland, Toledo, and Dayton. So once again, let's, as our president says, eliminate that fake news. Number two, we are very blessed to have a police chief in the city of Lorain, Sal Rivera, who has decided in good faith, because he's doing the right thing, that our police force should not serve as subservience to ICE, the immigration component of the federal government. Just like people complain about the highway patrol being in our city, the highway patrol has a right to go anywhere in the state of Ohio. So with the sanctuary cities, getting back to the original questions, that has been, since day immemorial, cities have been, churches have been deemed sanctuary cities. But in the city of Lorain, we are not, quote, a sanctuary city.
Okay, Mr. Redondo, you've served this community over a long period of time. You've seen quite a few things, and you've been involved in many battles, both in politics and outside of politics. Based on everything you've seen, everything you've done, what do you feel at the current time is the biggest barrier to Lorain once becoming a prosperous city, and what is our best chance for overcoming that barrier?
That is a question that is continually asked every administration that comes in, every new set of council come in. We all have great ideas, great thoughts. But being in sales for over 30 years, I feel the greatest obstacle that we have is ourselves, our attitude, our fear of failure, our fear of rejection, and most of all, our fear of success. Because frankly speaking, when we all work together, things could be achieved. Somebody mentioned earlier about party politics and what would you do if you were confronted. As president of the city council, in 10 years that I have served, I can honestly raise my right hand and swear that I have never called a council person to tell them to vote one way or the other. I have counseled them when they have asked questions, and I have told them, you have to cast the vote. That is why you were elected, for your constituents. You're not here to answer to the administration, to the president of council. The only ones you hear are to represent your ward, or as the council people at large, they have to represent the whole city. So from the standpoint of attitude, I believe, this perception of as woe is Lorain, there's a lot of other towns. Just look to the east of us, Pittsburgh. If you ever want to look at a feel-good story, Pittsburgh is definitely the Renaissance city. Steel City, they could have done the same thing Lorain did, but once again, they chose not to, which Lorain is also choosing not to. We are looking to make improvements and continue to make Lorain a great place that was even better than before. Thank you.
And now you will have your 1 minute of closing statements.
My ability to listen, learn, and lead has earned me the confidence and trust of the voters of the city of Lorain to elect me president of City Council for 10 years. I firmly believe that Lorain is on the road to recovery. My leadership skills have resulted in an improved working relationship with City Council and the Mayor Rittenauer's administration, who is trying to reinvent Lorain. To do so, Council has adhered to sound financial oversight by monitoring our city budget with the cooperation of the police, fire, and city unions. Other successful efforts include a road improvement plan that includes our infrastructure, outdated sewer, and water service, a plan to eliminate blighted housing and abandoned buildings, a long overdue trash collection service, and efforts to rejuvenate Oakwood Park. On November 7th, I humbly ask for your vote so that I may continue to serve the citizens of Lorain. Your voice is your vote. Tu voz es tu voto. Thank you.
Mr. O'Donnell, thank you very much. And now we're coming to our last race. So we invite the candidates for council at large to please come up. And we have now reached toward the end of the evening, one of our more important, although every race is important, council at large represents not one ward, but all wards, this entire city. So we're glad that all three of you could join us today. Unfortunately, Trina Smith was called to work. They lost a person on the job, and she had to fill in. She did respond and was trying to make it, but was unable to make it. So we have to continue on. So we'll begin with our opening statements, and we'd like to start with Ms. Springowski.
Buenas noches y gracias por tenerme aquí. Buenas noches y gracias por tenerme aquí esta noche. Me disculpo por mi pobre español. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Mary Springowski, and I am privileged to serve as one of your council-at-large representatives. I'm running for re-election for the same position, and I'm here to convince you to re-elect me in November. During my time on council, I've been an outspoken and tireless advocate for the residents of this city. All of the residents. I have been the council member to ask the hard questions. As council at large, I'm responsible for the entire city, not just a particular ward, and I've been available via phone, email, text, and social media. The residents of Lorain know that if they reach out to me, I will respond and help them resolve their issues and answer their questions honestly and factually. I am endorsed by the UAW, AFL-CIO, CWA, and the Sheet Metal Workers. I'm also a member of the Police, Fire, and Legislation Committee, Federal Programs Committee, and Building and Lands. I'm active in a variety of community activities, such as various block watches, as well as many others. And I have been a true voice for the people. And with your support and vote, I will continue to be just that, your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Springowski. Mr. Kazura.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here this evening once again with Chip. You know, I've had many occasions to be speaking to you. I'm proud to be an elected official. I don't apologize for being an elected official, and I certainly don't apologize for being a member of the Democrat Party, a party that gave you workers' comp, unemployment insurance, pensions, health care, and all the good things you have to take care of you as a citizen. I'm really upset, Michael, and all of you. It's really neat that everybody's here tonight, and I'm hoping when people watch this on TV. One thing I want to implore to you is that what's going on in this country, that government is your enemy. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I serve with these two fine folks, and I've served with the people you have heard tonight. And they're all honorable people trying to do the best job they can. And I want to tell you, they're honest people. So when you hear this stuff about fake news and you hear this stuff, you are the government. So don't ever think that the government is your enemy, because that makes no sense at all. So keep believing and keep carrying on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kazura. Mr. Fallis.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to... Houston, do we have power? Good evening. I'd like to thank the CHIP organization, Lorain City School District, for this venue, and the citizens of Lorain who are here in attendance, and those out in TV land for taking an interest in finding out what the candidates and the issues are of the city of Lorain. My name is Mitchell Fallis. I am seeking re-election to the Lorain City Council at Large to serve you for a fourth term. My wife Vivian and I reside on West 30th Street in Lorain. I'm a lifelong Lorain resident and a product of Lorain City Schools. Lorain is a city with a large ethnic diversity. Council at Large represents all residents of Lorain, whether they live on the south side, east side, west side, or central Lorain. My primary priorities for the city of Lorain are the following four. One, the creation of an economic development department to bring in much needed businesses and jobs. Number two, to continue to upgrade our water purification plant so that we have safe and reliable drinking water. Number three, to keep our neighborhoods safe and clean by securing grant funding for home improvements. And number four, to create a master plan for our parks to garner grant funding for park improvements. I've been supported and endorsed by the Sheet Metal Workers Union 33, Lorain Firefighters IAFF 267, and I'm here tonight to ask you for your vote. Vote for Mitchell J. Fallis, Council at Large, City of Lorain. Thank you.
Thank you. And your second question, starting with Mr. First question, starting with Mr. Fallis. What do you believe will be the greatest challenge for the city of Lorain during the next 2 years?
The greatest challenge to the city of Lorain for the next 2 years is economics. In 2018, we are going to lose our SAFER grant, and I believe the next year, in 2019, we have a levy, income tax levy, that will have to be up for renewal. So the city of Lorain needs to beef up its budgetary process to not only look at what our budget's going to look like in 2018, but I think 19, 20, 21, and 22. Why is that? 4 years down the road, we're going to have another income tax termination, and so we need to, in order for us to plan our immediate future, we're going to need to know what our finances look like over a 5-year period in order to chart a course to have a sound and safe economic future. We need to bring employment and jobs to our city in order to secure and provide the much needed services to our residents, whether that be police, fire, or road improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kazura?
Well, there's no question it's economic development, but one thing is the environment we're in. Everybody asks the government to cut taxes. You hear that all the time. Cut taxes, cut taxes. Well, the federal government is cut. Then the state cuts. We have lost local government dollars. We've lost grant money. And the burden is going to be on our shoulders in a lot of these. You know, I proposed a $10 piggyback increase on your license plates, and we passed in council. That raises $500,000, and that money comes back to the city to spend. And you can see the road improvements. And that's going to continue to do. We're going to have to do some of the things, the burden, unless we can convince the federal government and the state government, and by a next election, and changing the philosophy that's presently occurs for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Ms. Brigowski.
Yes, I have to agree. It's to continue the trend we've started with greater attention to economic development and code enforcement. When I came in, we were in a precarious fiscal situation, and through the efforts of many, we will end this year without that deficit. Economic development through the port is one of the things that I suggested early on. The reason being is we needed to take the politics out of economic development. I believe that we need to keep community development with the city, but the port is in a much better shape under Ohio Revised Code to lead that economic development. Thank you.
Okay, and for your second question, starting with you, Mrs. Springowski, what is your position on Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA?
As the mother of 4 and as the daughter of immigrants, I think that we've failed these kids. They were brought here under promises that were not kept, and we need to turn over every rock. We need to do whatever it takes in order to help these kids, to make them legal, and to fulfill the promises that were made to them. This is happening through no fault of theirs, and as leaders in the community, we need to go out of our way to make sure that they remain where they were promised they would remain. Thank you.
Mr. Kazura, same question.
Yes, thank you. I think it's a shame. I think it's a dark spot on our country that we have not stood up and tried to convince the federal government and the President of the United States and those who have that responsibility and authority to do something about it. This is something that is really, it's shameful that we're even having to talk about it. So I am totally in favor of doing whatever we can for these children.
Thank you. Mr. Fallis, your position on DACA?
As President Arredondo articulated earlier, DACA is a federal issue. It was initiated by President Barack Obama. Recently, President Trump had reversed Obama's position on that. And I think he failed the country and those who are affected by that, because he made a change and it didn't allow those folks that are affected to really respond in a timely manner. Whether you agree with DACA or not, he failed those folks because he didn't give them time to respond. Now really the power rests with the Congress. And so I would urge each and every one of you, if you, and to join me in supporting the position that was originally instituted by President Barack Obama by encouraging our congressmen to extend DACA as it was originally proposed. However, with the caveat that they do a very good job of making sure that those folks who are in our country are not going to harm our citizens, and they are of good character. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to your third question, which we will begin with Mr. Fallis. Mr. Fallis, can you think of any circumstance related to your elected position under which you might go against the wishes of your party leaders? Please cite a possible example which you could see yourself having to do that.
I think there's been many times in the city of Lorain, there's a certain bent that the party goes to, and people flow through that. And I would just say, as a candidate of the city of Lorain, I like to gather my facts. I like to do my homework. I like to rely upon experts' information. I don't necessarily always agree with experts, but I will read that. Read any information on a certain issue that's presented before City Council. I will do my homework, and I will make the decision what's in the best interest of the city. I'm not really interested in what a party believes in or the way they think we should go. And once I come to my conclusion, I will encourage my fellow council members to go in that direction. Thank you.
Mr. Kazura.
Yes, Michael. I can tell you it's an urban legend that's been going on in this county since time eternal. Went back with old Uncle Joe Uhaley, that when Joe told you to do something, you did it. Even now with Tony Giardini, the Democrats do whatever he says. But I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to ask any one of these council people, Mitch Fallis, Mary, anybody here, that has had the party call and tell you how to vote on any issue, Michael. And so I want to make that point perfectly clear. I vote the way I feel is right for the city, and I will keep my word, and that's what I will do in the future. Thank you.
Ms. Brogowski.
I'm a bit of a rebel on council, I guess, on things, but I have to say I've never been approached by anybody in the party and asked to vote any one particular way. What I do is I reach out to my constituents. I know what the administration's position is, but I said that I was here to represent the people, not the party, and I have stuck true to that. I reach out to many different people in many different wards, and I'll ask them their position because I'm always available to them. So it's not even an issue with me because I will do what is in the best interest of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank all three of you. We'd like to go now to our closing statements, and we will begin with Ms. Brogowski.
Yes, I have done what I set out to do, and that was to be the voice of the people, that I was here to represent you on City Council. I have fought repeatedly to allow the residents to speak at all council meetings. I've proposed an innovative and creative plan regarding economic development with the Port Authority as the Economic Development Department, with the city retaining the Department of Community Development. I have been available day and night and on holidays and weekends at all times through many various means of contact to all of the residents. I don't care what party you are. I don't care what neighborhood you live in. If you live in the city of Lorain, I am your representative. And therefore, I ask you once again to re-elect me to Council at Large, Mary Sprangowski, on November 7th. Thank you.
Mr. Kazura.
Thank you, Michael. You know, I started, if any of you watched the Ken Burns Vietnam series, I served this country in 1969 to 70 in Vietnam. I've served this city as city auditor and as mayor. I served years in the Ohio legislature. And I take that honor of the privilege of the voters of this city have seen fit to vote for me over the years. I take great pride in the privilege of that. And I promise you I will honor your concerns, and I will do everything in my power to vote and do the things that's necessary to make this city grow and prosper. And I humbly ask for your support and vote on November 7th, and thank you for coming this evening.
Mr. Fallis, your closing statement.
Thank you. I bring to city government a strong combination of prior council experience, financial management know-how, economic development leadership, and a lifetime commitment to Lorain. As the Chief Financial Officer of Vacation Land Federal Credit Union, when I started there in November 2011, we were rated a C+ by an outside rating service based upon our financial situation. In 3 years, with strategic strategies that I put together and the help of a team, we became an A- organization. I would like to use those skills to move our city forward. One way we can move our city forward is very, very vital, is economic development. The city of Lorain needs to create an economic development department director, someone who's credentialed, someone who has 25 years of experience, someone who has a proven track record of bringing employment to their city. That's what our city needs. It's vital to turn it around. That's the #1 issue in our city, and that's what we need to do. I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
We'd like to thank all three of you for your honesty and for your longtime service, and Ms. Prigowski for your recent service, which has actually gone a long way in your, in terms of your career and your commitment. What I really want to thank, and on behalf of Chip and our president, who's going to make the final comments now, is what I've noticed over this evening that I've not always seen in the past, is that there is an enthusiasm, an optimism within the candidates that are running this year and those that are electing and that are running again for re-election. Lorain sorely needs that. We need to all feel the way you guys have made us feel here today. We commend you each on your races, on your efforts on behalf of the city, and in your contributions to our future. We all depend on you, and it definitely seems to me that you are aware of that. We'd like to remind you also that on April 28th of this year, we'll have our Hispanic Leadership Conference. It's where we come together with the community and we talk about the issues that we're scared most about, that we're not sure what's going to happen, where we can use your advice, where we could use your input. About 500 people come together to just discuss that, and we invite all of you to attend that. This year we had elections and we have a new president, and she will close today's event. And so please welcome our president, Ms. Juanita Senquis.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone for coming out. As we conclude here tonight, I would like to thank, of course, Mike Farrell, Alicia Pardin, and Ariana Marcano for doing a fabulous job, fabulous job. Also, Joe Bach, Lorain City School, and Ron Jantz from Lorain County Community College. Also, Mr. David Hardy, I know he couldn't make it here tonight, our CEO, and Dr. Jeff Graham, our superintendent of Lorain City School. Robin Hopkins, the principal here at Lorain High School, and the operations staff. Appreciate it. I mean, we had a little alarm going off here, but I think as long as he stays here, we're okay. Our timekeeper, Pablo Senquez and Tomas Cabasa. They did a fine job without me being there tonight. Becky Rodriguez and Willie Arriaga, our greeters, and of course our fabulous Elizabeth Santos for bringing our little treats here tonight. I appreciate that. Also, our website is now chiplorain.com. It used to be chiplorain.org. It's been changed to chiplorain.com, so please visit our website. I would appreciate that. And also, I'd like to see the PACE student. They will come over here forward to me where I'm at. All the PACE students, please come over here where I'm at and come forward. We appreciate your help. And these are our future of tomorrow. Come over here. Have your spotlight on the camera here. Just want to say, we want to thank these students for helping us out here tonight. They're part of the PACE program. And I really don't know how many of them are seniors. How many are seniors? Okay, the seniors, don't forget, November 7th, go out and vote. Thank you.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.